Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the English Broadcast Studio. I'm Alex, and today we have a very special challenge for all of you who are eager to take your English to the next level.
That's right, Alex. I'm Bella, and we're diving into something that could make your English sound not just fluent, but more sophisticated as well. We'll be talking about how to replace those common, everyday words with smarter alternatives. It's all about enhancing your vocabulary and sounding more confident in your conversations.
Exactly. If you've ever found yourself using the same words over and over again, like good, bad, interesting, and very, then this episode is perfect for you. By the end, you'll be armed with a variety of smarter alternatives that will impress everyone you speak to.
And don't worry, we won't be throwing difficult words at you that are hard to remember. We're going to keep it practical and teach you words that you can easily incorporate into your daily speech.
Right. So let's get started with our first word, good. It's one of the most commonly used words in English, but is it the most effective one?
Not at all, Alex. Using good repeatedly can sound a bit basic, don't you think? Let's find a smarter alternative. For instance, instead of saying good, you could say excellent, outstanding, or even superb.
Exactly. It gives a more positive and enthusiastic tone to what you're saying. For example, instead of this pizza is good, you could say this pizza is outstanding. It sounds much more compelling, right?
Definitely. It also shows that you have a deeper understanding of the language and are trying to expand your vocabulary, which is a great impression to make.
Now let's talk about another word we all use frequently, bad. Again, it's a word that can be replaced with something much more specific.
Yes, instead of saying bad, how about using terrible, horrible, or atrocious? These alternatives really convey the strength of your feelings. For example, the movie was bad can be elevated to the movie was atrocious. It immediately gives a stronger impression of disappointment.
Exactly, Bella. Bad is so general, while words like atrocious leave no room for ambiguity. The person you're speaking to knows exactly how you feel about the situation.
Right, and that brings us to another crucial point. Using more specific words not only improves the quality of your speech, but it also makes you sound more articulate.
Absolutely. Now, let's move on to another word we often use to describe something or someone's performance. Interesting. It's another one of those words that gets thrown around a lot, but we can make it sound so much more engaging.
Exactly. Instead of just saying something is interesting, how about using captivating, engaging, or intriguing? These alternatives make your language sound more lively and active. For example, instead of that book is interesting, you could say that book is captivating.
I love that, Bella. It's a perfect way to keep the conversation lively and show your enthusiasm for what you're talking about.
Definitely, and it's all about painting a more vivid picture with your words. The more you add nuance, the more you come across as confident and thoughtful.
Exactly. Now, here's another word we rely on a lot, very. People use very to emphasize adjectives all the time, but there are much more precise ways to express intensity.
Right, instead of saying very good, you could say excellent. Instead of very big, try enormous. These words pack more punch and avoid repetition. For instance, instead of saying it's very cold outside, you could say it's freezing outside.
Yes, and instead of very smart, you could say brilliant or exceptional. It makes you sound more polished and refined.
Exactly. So when you're tempted to use very, just ask yourself, can I replace this with something more precise? Is there a smarter word I could use?
All right, let's move on to another common word that people often use, nice. We've all used this word countless times when we're trying to describe someone or something positively, but let's be honest, it's a bit overused, right?
Absolutely. Nice is so general. Instead of saying nice, why not try using charming, pleasant, or delightful? These words add a bit more flair and convey a deeper meaning.
Exactly. For instance, instead of saying she's a nice person, you could say she's a charming person. Doesn't that sound more refined?
It sure does, and it's a great way to elevate your language. It shows you have a wider vocabulary and you're not relying on the same tired words.
Right, and instead of nice weather, how about beautiful weather or lovely weather? It makes a huge difference in how you come across.
Absolutely. Words like lovely and beautiful are more specific and evoke a stronger sense of appreciation, which is exactly what we want to do when we're expressing ourselves.
Exactly, Bella. Now, here's another one. Happy. It's a word we use all the time, but it can sometimes sound a bit flat when we want to describe how we feel.
That's right. There are so many better alternatives. You could use ecstatic, joyful, elated, or even overjoyed instead of just happy.
Yes, happy is good, but ecstatic, that's much more expressive. For example, instead of saying, I'm happy about this opportunity, you could say, I'm overjoyed about this opportunity. It shows how much more excited you are.
Exactly. And it makes your emotions sound more genuine and heartfelt. Using more specific words helps others understand exactly how you're feeling.
And that's the beauty of language, isn't it? The more precise we are, the more we can convey the exact emotion or idea we want to share.
Exactly. It's all about finding the right words for the right moments. And speaking of precision, let's talk about the word think. It's another word we tend to overuse, especially in casual conversations.
Yes, instead of saying, I think this is a good idea, you could say, I believe this is a good idea, or I'm convinced this is a good idea.
Great point. Believe and convinced sound so much stronger than think. They convey a sense of certainty and confidence that think just doesn't quite capture.
Exactly, and it's a small change, but it can make a huge difference in how persuasive and confident you come across in a conversation.
Right. Instead of, I think he's smart, you could say, I'm sure he's smart, or I'm certain he's smart. It shows that you have conviction in what you're saying.
And when you use words like believe or convinced, you're also taking ownership of your opinions, which is a great way to sound more assertive.
Definitely. And that's what we want, is to sound confident, persuasive, and articulate. So remember, instead of saying I think, try using I believe, I'm convinced, or I'm sure.
Exactly. Let's move on into another word. Ask. It's a very common word, but there are alternatives that sound more formal or specific depending on the context.
Yes, instead of saying ask, you could use inquire or request. For example, instead of saying I'm going to ask her for help, you could say I'm going to inquire about her help, or I'm going to request her assistance.
That's a great point, Bella. Inquire sounds so much more formal and sophisticated. And request is perfect for professional settings, especially when you're asking for something in a more polite and respectful way.
Exactly. It's about using the right word for the right situation. If you're in a formal meeting or writing a professional email, inquire and request will definitely make you sound more polished.
Absolutely. And in casual conversations, you can still sound intelligent by using alternatives like wonder or seek. Instead of, I'm going to ask him where he is, you could say, I'm going to wonder where he is. Or, I'm going to seek out where he is.
Yes, exactly. It's all about having a range of vocabulary to choose from. So, don't feel restricted by the simple words like ask. Explore and expand your options.
Now, let's talk about another common word that often crops up in conversations, like. It's a word that's used almost everywhere, especially in informal speech. But believe it or not, there are more refined alternatives that can elevate your language.
That's true. Instead of saying, I like this, you could say, I enjoy this, or I appreciate this. These alternatives make your sentences sound more thoughtful and deliberate.
Absolutely. And it's a great way to sound more engaged in the conversation. For instance, rather than saying, I like that restaurant, you could say, I'm fond of that restaurant, or I absolutely enjoy dining there.
Perfect! Saying I'm fond of or I absolutely enjoy has more depth than just I like. It shows that you have a real connection to what you're talking about.
Yes! And what about the overused, I like this idea? Instead, you could say, I'm enthusiastic about this idea, or I'm keen on this idea. It sounds more positive and passionate.
Absolutely. These words show excitement and enthusiasm, and they make your language more lively. Instead of using like all the time, consider which word best conveys your level of interest.
Right, Bella. And it's not just about sounding smarter. It's about adding energy and expression to your language. The more you use varied vocabulary, the more your communication becomes dynamic.
Exactly. And that brings us to another frequently used word, many. We all use many when we want to describe a large quantity, but there are better, more descriptive options.
Yes. Instead of saying many people, how about numerous people, countless people, or a great deal of people? These alternatives make your speech sound more precise.
Great alternatives. Numerous and countless both paint a clearer picture of quantity, and they add a level of sophistication to your speech. Instead of saying many options, you could say a multitude of options.
Exactly. Multitude is such a powerful word. It gives a sense of abundance, while many is just too general. So whenever you feel the urge to say many, think about whether one of these alternatives could make your point stronger.
Right. And don't forget, you can also use several, plenty, or a considerable number, depending on the context. These phrases can replace many in a way that provides more detail and clarity.
That's true. And speaking of detail, let's talk about another word that often gets thrown around in daily conversation: stuff. It's very informal and can sound a bit vague.
Yes, stuff is fine when you're speaking casually, but it lacks precision. Instead, you could use items, things, or even belongings, depending on the context.
Exactly. Instead of saying, I have a lot of stuff to do, you could say, I have a lot of tasks to complete, or I have several commitments to take care of. It sounds much more organized and intentional.
Absolutely. Stuff is so nonspecific, but tasks, responsibilities, or duties give your speech more direction. They tell the listener exactly what you're talking about.
And let's face it, when you're trying to sound more polished, using specific words like items or belongings instead of stuff can really make you come across as more professional, especially in a business or formal setting.
Exactly. So whenever you catch yourself saying stuff, pause and ask yourself if there's a more specific word you can use. You'll be surprised at how much more effective and impressive your language can be.
Absolutely. And with that, let's move on to our next word, which is important. It's a word that we all use when discussing something significant, but again, there are alternatives that can sound much more precise.
Yes, instead of important, you could say crucial, vital, essential, or even paramount. These words carry more weight and show the significance of what you're discussing.
Great examples. For instance, instead of saying, this is an important meeting, you could say, this is a crucial meeting, or this is a vital meeting. Doesn't that sound more urgent and serious?
Absolutely. Crucial and vital sound so much more intense than just important. It's all about showing the level of importance something holds.
And remember, important is a safe, neutral word, but words like paramount or essential show that you are really emphasizing the importance of something.
Exactly. And by using words like these, you're not only sounding smarter, but you're also conveying a sense of priority. So next time you want to say important, try replacing it with crucial or essential.
Definitely. So far, we've covered a lot of words, but here's one more that's very commonly used: help. It's a word we use all the time, but there are plenty of alternatives that sound more specific.
Yes, instead of just saying help, you could say assist, aid, or support. These alternatives sound more formal and can be used in a variety of contexts.
Exactly. For example, instead of saying, can you help me with this? You could say, can you assist me with this? Or can you provide support for this?
Yes, assist and support both sound more professional. They convey a sense of collaboration and teamwork. It's perfect for formal conversations or when you want to sound more respectful and considerate.
And remember, help is perfectly fine in casual settings, but if you're speaking in a business or academic context, alternatives like aid or assist will elevate your tone.
Well, Bella, it looks like we've covered a lot of ground today. From replacing basic words like good and bad with smarter alternatives to elevating our language with words like assist and crucial, it's clear that small changes in our vocabulary can make a huge difference in how we communicate.
Absolutely, Alex. I hope our listeners feel inspired to experiment with their language and incorporate some of these more sophisticated alternatives into their daily conversations. It really does make your speech more engaging, impactful, and confident.
That's right, Alex. And remember, it's not about complicating your language. It's about choosing words that more accurately express what you mean. Whether you're having a casual chat or speaking in a professional setting, using these smarter alternatives can make you sound more polished and articulate.
That's right. So take the challenge and replace some of those common words you use every day. Experiment, practice, and watch your language improve. You'll start to notice the difference in how people respond to you.
Thanks for joining us today on English Broadcast Studio. We hope you found today's episode helpful and that you're now excited to apply these tips in your own English speaking journey.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great tips on improving your English and sounding more fluent. And if you enjoyed today's episode, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment with your thoughts or any words you'd like us to cover in future episodes.
We'll be back with more fun and insightful challenges to help you master the English language. Until next time, keep practicing and keep speaking with confidence.
Take care, everyone, and remember, it's all about speaking smarter, not harder. See you in the next episode.